Today we're talking about leukemia versus lymphoma. Leukemia versus lymphoma. Leukemia is usually hematology, oncology, medical oncology. Lymphoma, sometimes surgical. It's really more physical than surgical, just because the way the diagnosis is made. With leukemia, it usually is by a blood draw. Somebody comes in for a CBC, they're fatigued, they have anemia, or they have a high white count, low white count, low platelets, high platelets. We know for whatever reason their white blood cell count or something off of the CBC, cell blood count, blood draw, is abnormal. You start thinking about leukemias. Lymphoma usually have a lump. Now that falls into the surgical wheelhouse because breast cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer, they all have lymph nodes associated with them. A lot of times patients will come in with fevers, chills, night sweats, weight loss, the hallmark findings that you sometimes see with lymphoma. When they do that, they'll find a lump in their arm or their underneath their armpit or their groin, and then they send them to a surgeon to have that removed to figure out if they have lymphoma or not, or metastatic adenocarcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma of the neck, or something weird like that. So that's where it falls into general surgery. I kind of dig into baby hands, so you just have to forgive me. I might work these a little too much this time. But before we talk about leukemia versus lymphoma, and again, we're not going to get into the subtypes of lymphoma or a lot of the subtypes of leukemia. We're just going to give you a general overall view so you kind of understand the surgical aspect of it as well as which one is versus what the other is. Now, when we're talking about this, we have to do a little bit of anatomy. Leukemia versus lymphoma. Leukemia, bones. Lymphoma, lymphatic system. Bones, muscles hold you up, allow you to walk, to do all that good stuff. But inside of the bone is bone marrow. Now, as far as bone marrow, leukemia essentially means cancer of the bone marrow, or the blood cells that are created. We have white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets. These are the subtypes of white blood cells. Spongy bone versus red bone marrow, which is typically in the middle. This is where the majority of your cell production comes from. The spongy bone is primarily from is functional strength, versus this is what's making these other little cells. Now, they have a normal rate that they have to produce. Let's say your bone marrow produces 100,000 platelets a day, every day, and then after 7 to 9 days, those platelets die off and chew up. So what that would mean is you probably have about 700,000 platelets running around in your body. As long as they're producing 100 a day and 100 are dying at 7 days and your spleen's chewing them up, your platelet count is always 700,000. Now, and that's true for white blood cells. If your bone makes one white blood cell a day and they last for 10 days, and that's normal production, and then after 10 days they die and they start getting chewed up, then you have 10 white blood cells a day. But if something goes wrong and you get a cancer in here, that 10 blood cells a day, and it's really not 10, it's like 10,000, but that 10 may increase to 100. So if you're producing 100 a day and you're only dying 10 a day or after a day, that 10 becomes 12, 15, 20, and over time you have too many white blood cells. So that's usually how leukemias come about, is because the speed of production ramps up. Now, what that means long term is if you get too many of these platelets or too many white blood cells, you can start forming clots because the system is very well balanced. It needs X amount of this, X amount of that, this amount of factors to maintain the viscosity. Think of it as orange juice. If you have orange juice and you have to have X amount of pulp in it for it to go from the carton to the cup, if you put way more pulp in it than it's supposed to have, you end up with clumps. Those clumps can cause clots. Those clumps can cause congestive heart failure because it's too thick and it's having trouble getting through your heart, getting through your vessels. So that's why leukemia has become issues. So it's really a speed of progression. Now, if this production shuts off, that's a whole different issue. Anemias, we ain't talking about that. That's somebody else's wheelhouse. Now, as far as the white blood cells that are affected, you can have lymphocytic leukemia, myeloid cells, precursors to red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets. You can have a couple of different subtypes. With the diagnosis of this or the suspicion of this, because your CBC is abnormal, and that platelet count, hemoglobin, hematocrit, white blood cells. A bunch of other stuff, subtypes out, but for the most part, those 4 components. If you go in for whatever reason, tired, fatigued, they order a white blood cell count and you have 20,000 white blood cells or 1.2 million platelets. What they'll do is they say, we think you may have a leukemia. So then what they'll do is they'll do a bone marrow biopsy. And the bone marrow biopsy is usually done by the hematology oncologist or the medical oncologist. They can do it in long bones, they can do it in your sternum, they can do it in your hip. It's not a pleasant procedure because they're sticking a big needle with a corkscrew in it into one of your long bones and it hurts, but it's not really that uncomfortable. And they use medication to numb it up. Once they sample these cells, they can then look and see how many early white blood cells, because the things just don't come out as white blood cells. They start as little pieces and they grow and then they get to be white blood cells and they shoot out. So if you see 100,000 the white blood cell precursors, or the very small or the early ones in here, and they're only supposed to be 10,000, they can start subtyping it out and figuring it out. That's leukemia. Did I miss anything, Chrissy? Oh yeah, we got to talk about 5-year survival. We'll get to that at the end. That's a whole different issue. Now, lymphoma, completely different issue. Lymph nodes occur everywhere. Stomach, chest, around your neck, in your armpits, in your groin. You have lymph nodes pretty much throughout your entire body, but for the most part, any place that bends or in your chest or abdomen, that's where lymph nodes accommodate. Lymph nodes are basically trash cans along the drainage highway of your body. They are designed to have, to basically pick up debris that's chewed up by white blood cells, and then it's deposited in here, it's broken down, and then it goes back out. So they're essentially helping clean up infections in the body. That's why if you get a virus, if you get a bacteria, if you get ill from something, you will feel your lymph nodes grow, and then a couple of weeks later, they'll get better. Anything smaller than a centimeter is normal. If it is greater than a centimeter, that's when we start thinking about it being pathologic. What that means is that there's something going on in it that is causing it to increase in size. Afferent, efferent vessels, it has an artery and vein, it gives it blood supply, the medullas, and you have a cortex and a capsule. This stuff is what basically cycles it. So crap comes in, it's broken down, shoots back out. And it drains eventually in the venous system and just kind of keeps going. Now, as far as a lymph node, it is designed to go up and down, increase, decrease. If it's doing more work, it maybe recruits a few more people, it needs more few trash cans. So you may see 4 or 5 lymph nodes enlarged if you have a real bad infection, something like cat scratch. Bartonella?
Yeah.
I think that's what, Bartonella, whatever it is, yeah. Cat scratch is a common one you see in pediatric patients. They'll come in, huge lymph nodes. It takes 3 months to heal because it just causes so much inflammation but it does go down. If you have if a lymph node is larger than a centimeter chronically and it continues to grow, you may want to see your primary doctor. They'll draw some labs and then they'll consider having it excised after a trial of antibiotics. This is usually where I get involved as a general surgeon because they'll come in with lymph nodes in their neck, their arm, and they want us to remove them. I typically say no the first time, treat them with antibiotics, have them come back and see me 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month, and if it's not smaller, then I'll take it out. Sometimes you'll see these things that are inflamed really bad and they go down really quickly. Sometimes they'll just be there. I have one on the back of my neck that has been here for 10 years. And when I get sick, it gets big. When I'm not sick, it goes away. So I use it as a, am I sick or not sick, or am I just crazy kind of thing. It's my sick valve. Now, when you go to see your physician, your surgeon to take it out, we make a small incision over the lymph node, take it out, send it off via pathology. When you do this in the operating room, you cannot put formalin in the cup that you send this to pathology. You don't want to do that because it destroys their ability to subtype these out and do what's called flow cytometry. Somebody else talks about flow cytometry. I'll let one of the pathologists do it. But flow cytometry allows you to be able to subtype a lymphoma if that's what it is. Now, it doesn't have to be a lymphoma. If you have adenocarcinoma that's metastatic from your lung, you can have lymph nodes, colon lymph nodes, rectal cancer lymph nodes, thyroid cancers, lymph nodes. So cancer, because your body kind of sees cancer as an infection, it gets cycled through these lymph nodes. When it takes up residency in a lymph node, you have enlarged lymphadenopathy. And that starts talking about the stage of cancers, T, N, M. Tumor, size, thickness, nodes, the N, lymph nodes, and M, metastasis, other places. So we have to cut them out. The interesting thing about cancer and solid tumor cancers, that's really what we're talking about, is they usually outgrow the blood supply. So if you have huge lymphadenopathy and you come into the doctor and we're thinking you have a diagnosis of lymphoma, we don't always take out that big mass. We try to take out a lymph node on the periphery, so outside of the big mass of lymph nodes, to get a diagnosis. If you take that big lymph node out, two things happen. One, the majority of it is necrotic because the cancer has outgrown its blood supply. Two, you make a huge incision when realistically the treatment for both of these, leukemias and lymphoma, chemotherapy. Sometimes they should do radiation, but pretty much chemotherapy. So there's no reason to make a big incision to remove a lymph node. Once we get the diagnosis, then we start treatment. So don't be alarmed if you have big lymph nodes in your neck and you have one small lymph node in your axilla. We'll go after the small axillary lymph node, and if we get the diagnosis, the other lymphadenopathy will disappear. I have some other videos on YouTube that kind of show you some of the lymph nodes that we take out for leukemias and such. As far as the subtypes of lymphoma, falls into two different categories: Hodgkin's lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That again is a subtype category of lymphomas that is found usually when we're doing flow cytometry on a lymph node that we've removed. Now, regardless of the subtype, we always talk about B symptoms: fevers, night sweats, weight loss. Those are the things that we always ask about when people come in with lymphadenopathy, just to make sure that it is or isn't, or at least gives us an idea as to whether or not this is a lymphoma. If they're having fevers, night sweats, and a significant amount of weight loss, it more than likely would be a very far progressed lymphoma, versus if they don't have any of these and we catch it, it's probably an early lymphoma. One other thing to reassure you is that whether it's a lymphoma or a leukemia, you have a little bit of time. This is not one of those things that happens, you get a lymphoma, boom, 6 months later it's metastatic everywhere. If you have a lymphoma, if you have a lymphoma, we can get a diagnosis. And sometimes I had one patient that had lymphoma. She ended up not doing anything. After we staged her, she waited a year and her stage was the same. So it's not something that progresses overnight. It's a month to year kind of issue, not a second to minute kind of issue. So we have time. If you wait a month to take a lymph node out, it's not going to change your stage. It's not going to change your treatment. B cell versus T cell lymphomas, another subcategory. Now, the hard part about lymphomas and leukemias is this, is that the 5-year survival on average. So again, subtypes, nodular sclerosing, so many different subtypes, but the subtypes, some are better, some are worse. But on average, a leukemia, bone marrow cancer has a 5-year survival rate of 65%, which means if you undergo treatment on protocol, at 5 years, 65% of the people who have a leukemia will be alive. If you have lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, 72% 5-year survival rate versus Hodgkin's lymphoma, 87% 5-year survival rate. Again, the number of people out of 100 that are alive at 5 years. Either way, both of these are not ideal to have. But if you come in and you get blood drawn, they think you have a leukemia, you're getting a bone marrow biopsy. If you go to your doctor and have lymph nodes and we biopsy one of those and it comes back lymphoma, then we can start getting treatment. Most of these treatments require port access. So that's an IV that goes right here in your chest that they can, or in your arm, a PICC line, so that they can give you your chemotherapy. And then they continue to follow you with routine CT scans after you've been treated. Again, simply because they've got to get you past 5 years. Most cancers, once you get past 5 years, you should be okay. There are some exceptions like breast cancer that sometimes just pop up, or melanomas that pop up. But these things, whether you have a leukemia or a lymphoma, you will be surveillance for life every once in a while, whether it's a CBC, physical exam, or CT scan. They're going to check on you just to make sure that you haven't had a recurrence. Hope this clears up whether you have a leukemia or lymphoma. What do you do with a lymph node? If you have any questions, DM me, text me, all that good stuff. And I hope you have learned something. All right, guys, take care.
Ain't nothing wrong with thunder with the rain.